Welcome to the most cringe football clubs tournament 2025. Yes, here are the contestants for this tournament. We have Manchester City, Newcastle, and PSG for being state-funded oil clubs. We have Girona, Mumbai City, and Troyes for being affiliated to Man City and allowing for weird things like the Savinho transfer to happen. Like, didn't Man City already own Savinho? Okay, Spurs are here for winning the Europa League, finishing 17th, and then sacking Postecoglou. Like, come on, give him a chance. He won a trophy. Man United are here. Man United are self-explanatory. Yeah. Barcelona for losing to an Inter Milan side that lost 5-0 in the Champions League final. Inter Milan for losing 5-0 in the Champions League final, losing the Serie A to Napoli, bottling a 2-0 lead against AC Milan in the Supercoppa, and losing 3-0 to AC Milan in the Coppa Italia semifinals. Yeah, that's it. AC Milan for finishing 8th in Serie A and losing the Coppa Italia final to Bologna. How does that happen? Real Madrid for finishing 2nd in La Liga behind Barcelona, losing 5-1 on aggregate to Arsenal in the Champions League, and getting bullied by Barcelona in every El Clasico this season. Arsenal is self-explanatory. They just it's all on the screen. Atletico Madrid for failing to beat Barcelona and Real Madrid in La Liga, and also managing to get the penalty rule changed after the Julian Alvarez double touch incident. They managed to get the rule changed. Chelsea and Strasbourg for being owned by Todd Bowley and for doing funny business with 8-year contracts and signing a lot of young players. Yeah, I think Chelsea even sold hotels at some point to keep the finances. Dortmund for failing to break the Bayern Munich Bundesliga streak. Like, even Leverkusen did it before Dortmund. Yeah, the 22-23 Dortmund bottle will be a painful reminder for Dortmund fans. Bayern Munich for also losing to the Inter Milan team that lost 5-0 in the Champions League final. And Leverkusen for losing 3-0 in the Europa League final after going unbeaten the whole season, losing to 3rd Division Arminia Bielefeld in the Cup, and losing 5-0 in aggregate to Bayern in the round of 16 of the Champions League. Liverpool, who are here because they did win the league, but they also bottled everything else. Roma for spending 100 million on transfers and then sacking their manager after 4 games. Like, what was the thought process behind that? Yeah, that's weird. Fiorentina for losing 3 conference leagues in a row. They do have a chance to win it again this season, maybe 4th time's the charm for them. Yeah, all they have to do is, Juventus for going 21 games unbeaten at the start of this season, but they drew 12 of those games, and they were in 5th. They were going to miss out on the Champions League. The Red Bull Group for just generally spending a lot of money to win. Stoke City for teaching Arsenal how to do the corner kick dark magic. Yeah. Derby County, Sheffield United, and Southampton for all having terrible Premier League seasons. Like, seriously, this is just bad. This is terrible. Next we have the Saudi Public Investment Fund gang for buying all the best old players, and yeah. Next up we have LAFC, Club America, Pachuca, and Club Leon for their involvement in the whole incident about the Leon spot in the Club World Cup due to Pachuca and Leon being owned by the same company. And that was a big incident. Inter Miami for getting a spot in the Club World Cup because the president of FIFA decided he wanted to see Messi in it. And that's the only reason why. Celtic for farming titles in the Scottish Premiership and losing 7-1 to a Dortmund team that wasn't even that good back then. That Dortmund team under Nuri Sahin was not very good. Ludo Goretz for being the most farmless league of all time. They won 14 titles in a row in the Bulgarian Premier League. That is terrible. Botafogo for their bottling the league in 2023. They were in 1st and then they went 11 games unbeaten. They went 11 games winless at the end. How does that happen? How do you go 11 games winless at the end? Marseille and Monaco for being unable to beat PSG in the league. Fenerbahce for breaking the Turkish Super League points record and then not even winning the league. Dinamo Zagreb for losing 9-2 to Bayern Munich, and then they also managed to lose the Croatian league to Rijeka. Leeds United for thinking that this badge was a good idea. After supposedly consulting fans. Clearly LA Galaxy for winning the MLS Cup and then being the worst champion of all time by being last in the Supporters' Shield table, losing to a team that didn't shoot, and losing 7-0 to the runners-up of the MLS last season. Yeah. They lost to a team that didn't shoot. Luton Town for their double relegation. After being relegated from the Premier League, they went down again. Young Boys who are here for being worse than Slovan Bratislava in the Champions League. Boca Juniors and River Plate for being unable to beat Brazilian teams in the Copa Libertadores for the past 4 years. Kerala Blasters because the only trophy they can win is an online tournament hosted by a YouTuber. Yokohama F Marinos for going from losing the 2024 Asian Champions League final to being bottom of the J League. Like they're bottom of the J League. How does that happen? FK Arkadagh for being founded as an April Fool's joke 2 years ago, and then they bought all the best players in Turkmenistan, and they've gone 30-0-0 in the Turkmenistan Premier League this season. They've scored 147 goals and conceded 20. And I believe they also won the AFC Challenge League, the most rigged club. MK Dons for completely moving out of Wimbledon. What kind of football club moves out of their own city? How does that happen? England, who are self-explanatory. England national team is self-explanatory. The United States national team for getting eliminated in the group stage of the Copa America that they hosted and winning the treble of losing to Panama 3 times in 3 different competitions. Kansas City Chiefs, if you know, you know. This is a reference. The Detroit Lions, if you know, you know. And finally, Nice, Lille, and Stade Brestois 29. Now the round 1 matchups. These were all decided randomly. We've got USA versus Al Nassr, Mumbai City versus Botafogo, Stoke City versus Southampton, Boca Juniors versus Al Ahly, AC Milan versus Kansas City, Fiorentina versus Al Hilal, RB Salzburg versus Bayern Munich, Girona versus MK Dons, Kerala Blasters versus Dinamo Zagreb, Barcelona versus Lille, Club America versus Red Bull New York, Liverpool versus Ludogorets, Al Ittihad versus Real Madrid, Pachuca versus Inter Miami, PSG versus Dortmund, Troyes versus Brest, Sheffield United versus Yokohama F Marinos, Chelsea versus England, Spurs versus Juventus, Fenerbahce versus Leeds, RB Leipzig versus Bayer Leverkusen, Marseille versus Arkadagh, Nice versus Atletico Madrid, River Plate versus LA Galaxy, Derby County versus Strasbourg, Man City versus the Detroit Lions, Club Lyon versus Inter Milan, Celtic versus Man United, Newcastle versus Arsenal, Roma versus Luton Town, Young Boys versus Red Bull Bragantino, and LAFC versus AS Monaco. Those are the matchups for your first round of this tournament. Matches will be held as polls on my community tab, so make sure to vote in those. Feel free to comment up your opinion on who are the more cringe. You could sway the vote because people will look at the comments. And thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. See you next time. Bye.